Opus is the newest movie from A24. Let's talk about it.
The back row's asleep, but the front row's ready to pray.
When a writer travels to a compound of a pop star who disappeared years ago, she soon discovers his twisted plans for the gathering. Before we get started, I want to let you know that 96% of you are not subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy my content, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I upload a new video, but I hope you guys enjoy the review. Movies are starting to get a little too realistic because while watching Opus, I just kept questioning when I'll see a headline in the news of this exact thing happening in real life, and that's because this is basically a cult movie, and something strange that popped into my head after watching this is that Hollywood seems to be so turned on by cults, which is indeed very odd. I just imagine the writer's room salivating on the idea of like a sadistic leader, but I'm serious, it feels like we get 3 of these movies every year just with the story changed a tiny bit. With this one, which is directed by Mark Anthony Green, and this is also his first full-length feature film, so I'm not going to go too hard on him because my overall thoughts are very conflicted. As I'll say, I disagree with some people saying this is a terrible movie, one of the worst movies of the year. Like most of my mutuals on like Letterboxd, Twitter are like giving this like a 2 out of 10, 1 out of 10, and I'm not that low on it because it's still not good. It's just a very mixed bag for me with some great ideas looming in a bubble of pretty big negatives. I do want to get my big positive out before I get to my negatives, and something that really intrigued me about this story was that it's the idea of a huge musician coming back out of the blue after like 30 years, and he has a new album coming out, and he invites a group of people back to his, like, let's just say home base where the cult stays with him. He's like the leader of it. And like, you know, imagine in real life, you know, if Michael Jackson was still alive, imagine he, you know, stops making music, he disappears, and then like 20 years later, he has a new album come out, and, you know, everyone's huge fans of Michael Jackson. Everyone loved Michael Jackson. His music is like some of the best music of all time in my eyes, probably the biggest pop star in the whole entire world. And like, imagine that happens. Imagine he comes back and invites you to, you know, his, let's just say, an album party, be one of the first listeners, and you'd be so excited that you'd even forget about how weird this sounds to go to like someone's home base. But, you know, it happened, and I think that's still a very good idea that this film started with. And another great thing about it is that John Malkovich played the big pop star, and he actually recorded some original songs for it, and I can't lie, they kind of banged in the theater. Like once one started and it's like bass booming, I was like, this kind of rocks. I'm liking this music. And Malkovich is actually very believable as a leader of a cult, and I don't want to, you know, say this being like, oh, I think Malkovich is a cult leader, but he plays it in a very weird way in this movie, and he's eating up every single scene that he's in. Even though I do think that some of the ideas are great here, like this main idea, it's really great. The whole conversation on the people that follow him is pretty surface level. It's not really explored to a point that I wanted it to be, and it does take forever for the story to get into an interesting point where our characters discover what's actually going on around them. It's as if this was like a planned trilogy and they wanted to start slow, but no, you only have like an hour and 40 minutes, and the best stuff really only happens in the last half hour, which really upset me because when the movie ended, they set up what's going to happen in this universe, what John Malkovich's supporters are doing, what he's doing, and that sucks because that really did seem like the more interesting version of what we got. It's basically all set up here and no payoff in resolution, which really did hurt my opinion on the whole movie. I do want to talk about some of our other cast members, which is Ayo Edebiri. She plays like the main final girl here, Ariel Ecton, and she kind of felt one-dimensional to me, which I was really sad about because I thought that her character had a nice introduction. She works at this writer's place, and she's one of, you know, a writer, let's just say, that doesn't get a chance to shine. She gets here to this compound. She's very nervous, very wary about what's happening. She has to write a piece on it, and you don't really know much about her past, which is something that I want to know a little bit more on. I want to see that discussed. Like, imagine she had like a traumatic past, then she gets to this place and it's even more traumatic, but no, we really don't get any of that backstory. Ayo does still have some nice charm, like she does in some other projects. You know, she's walking around this random compound. Her facial reactions are great. When she's talking to John Malkovich, you can just see that she's very uncomfortable. So she does have some nice moments to shine here. As I said, also her best moments are like in the last 30 minutes, but I did feel like she did pretty well. Amber Midthunder also has a small role here, which is cool because she's in 2 movies this week, this and Novocaine. I do think Novocaine is a better movie, but I'm happy that her career's doing well because I thought she was excellent in Prey. Also, Juliette Lewis, Murray Bartlett, and Stephanie Suganami are some nice supporting cast members here. They're more the characters that don't care what's going on. They're just enjoying their time with this pop star that they haven't seen for like 30 years. And there's one scene near the end of the movie, which is probably my favorite scene in the movie. Like it features some beanbags, some weird stuff happens with one beanbag, and it took me by surprise with how weird it gets and what ensues after it. But it was so odd. But if this movie leaned more into those, odd, weird, out of nowhere, like what the fuck type of moments, I would have really enjoyed this so much more. But sadly, it doesn't go to where I wanted it to go. Overall, Opus is another cult movie that misses the mark as it plays with these big and interesting ideas, but the execution isn't fully realized, and it more or less feels like a first movie in a trilogy that we won't see completed. It sadly took forever to get to the really good and messed up things that I wanted to see, which all basically happened in like the last half hour of the movie, and where I was saying to myself, this is some very weird, odd stuff. I love it, but why didn't you give this to me an hour ago? John Malkovich, Stephanie Suganami, and Ayo Edebiri are my favorites in the cast and have some really standout moments here, and the original soundtrack will have you dancing in your seat, but sadly, this is another disappointing film from A24. I'm going to give Opus a low 6 out of 10. If you saw Opus or you're part of a cult, leave your own thoughts down below of what you guys thought of this movie. Also, if you enjoyed my video, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.